Okay, hello. We are coming to you live on day 414 of the occupation outside of Rockford City Hall. And we're going to be doing a recap similar to the live we had done on day 300 of basically just recapping the last 100 days or so. And just so it's stated and it's out there that there wasn't there was a vision for this live. There was a way I wanted to go about this, but different. But due to different moving obstacles and things of that nature, we weren't able to accomplish that. So I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do my best at doing these last 100-day live. So the time span of these last 100 days, it stemmed from July 29th through November 6th. Last 100 days, day 300 to day 400. So day 400 was last Saturday. And before I get into the main part of this live, I do want to say, as it gets colder and as we get further into our winter months, I'd imagine that it would be more difficult to do live videos in this manner. So I would think that just due to it being cold, and one of the problems we had last year with the cold was just a lot of the electronics would die. A lot of the battery would be worsened and weakened through going through some of the really cold winter temperatures. So I think for that reason, I think it's important to say another thing that we have been trying to do is be more focused on these podcasts, daily podcast release, full of books being read, and the social construct of Leslie release. I believe it's Sunday and Thursday. I believe that is a release schedule. And also another platform we will try to build up, another tool we try to utilize is the newsletter, the May 30th Alliance newsletter. You can subscribe, get a email once every Monday. Last week there wasn't one because of an arrest, so there was not the proper time to roll out the newsletter in the proper way. Okay, so subscribe to the podcast, May 30th Alliance podcast, on all major podcast outlets, all major podcasts. I think so. I'm pretty sure. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the newsletter. Follow us on any and all other social media. So day 300 to day 400, July 29th through November 6th. So that's really where we are at in terms of the occupation, is kind of in the middle of the summer, the middle of the warmest and the hottest months of the summer. We were in the middle of City Market. We were on the Friday coming up would be City Market week 11, so we had already been through the majority of the city markets. And the first city market in this time period, in this time span, would be from moving from the ledge. Oh no, my fault. That's wrong. The first time city market in this time period would be the last city market that we would do in this manner. And that the manner in which we did it was, in the beginning, was to stand on. Well, it changed at different points, but the regular my fault. The thing that we did regularly in the beginning was to stand on this ledge on what is it? Stand on this ledge next to the Rockford Register Star parking lot. To stand on this ledge with signs of victims who have been terrorized and brutalized by the police. To stand there with megaphones to amplify our voices and to spread these messages of these injustices going inside Rockford every day. And that really, it was really draining, really what it was. But it was also just my general thought process on that was it was less direct and it was more educational. That's what I always say. That's what I always try to get from that. It was a setup where it seemed like, I don't know if this is true or not, but it seemed like people moved through City Market pretty well. They just naturally just flowed throughout the City Market event. So it would be different people coming up and listening to what we got to say, and looking at the signs and asking questions and picking up pamphlets. So it was really more of an educational thing than confrontational. There was the I can't think of it. Yeah. Once we got into a rhythm and we was on the ledge, it was a lot more focused on educating the people at City Market. A few of the people, one of the most amazing things that I think happened was the families. I'm talking full families that would come over with their children. They would pick up the pamphlets and they would talk to their children about it. And that was really, I think, what was maybe the most important thing of being on that ledge. Is just the education we provided to the people, and also forcing, in a way, forcing people to confront these issues, forcing people to look at these photos, and not forcing people to look at these photos, but forcing people to have to confront this, to have to talk to somebody about it, to have to talk to the family members about it. And there were some families, there were a few white families that would their kids would ask questions, and their parents would cover up their eyes and cover up their ears and just lead them away. But for the most part, it was still a good amount of people that would pick up pamphlets, a good amount of people who would stop and listen. And I think that was really probably the best thing that came from being on the ledge. But also during this time period, I believe we are waiting on, I don't know if we're waiting on the findings to come out for Faustin Guaitiga, who was murdered on April 10th by Winnebago County Sheriff deputies, and waiting for the findings to come out for Jose Gonzalez Jr., who was shot by the Rockford Police Department a day after Faustin Guaitiga was murdered. And we are also waiting for the findings to come out over the police chase that ended in the death of Raymond Jackson. We're waiting for those findings to come out as well. We're still waiting for those findings to come out. So that's where we're at in terms of City Market. The next thing that would happen after, I believe that was week 13, I believe. I don't know, I kind of messed up these City Market numbers. I believe it is week 13. So the week after that, the week after our last City Market. Oh, no, my fault. I'm completely all crossed up here. That's my fault. Okay. So then the City Market, the next City Market after that would be when we returned to the crosswalk and walked in the crosswalk in between, I believe it's First and Market, streets, First and Market. We walked in that crosswalk starting on August 6th. This really came from, as much as I felt, hold on, my phone. Man, we got new headphones, so I'm trying to mess with the audio a little bit. As much as I felt being on the ledge was educational, and it was getting a message across, and it was successful in the action that we wanted it to be, I also felt like we needed to find a way that would be more inclusive to get more people involved, to get more people to participate in what we are doing. And for that reason, we returned to the crosswalk. And again, hold on. My fault. Okay. It's windy. It's real windy out here. Trying to get used to this. Okay. And I felt, in terms of just walking on the crosswalk, it felt definitely more direct. We definitely had a lot more direct confrontations due to that. But it also felt, it still felt educational in its own way. It still felt more community-based. I don't know if maybe not community-based is the right word. It felt, it succeeded in getting more people involved. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It succeeded in its goal. We wanted to get more people involved. We wanted more people to attend, and we wanted more people to feel like they were a part of something, that they learned something as well. And I think that going back and looking at this from 100 and a few days ago, I think we can say that it succeeded in its goal as well. Then another thing that we had done in these 100 days, and we have continued to do, is the Rockford reading segments. And I really wanted to talk to Leslie about the book that he had read. I think he had read 2 books, but he had read In Defense of Looting. And I remember when we first got that book, I believe we were, no, that can't be right. But I do remember when we first got this book. And I think I just read the back of it, and I was very interested in reading it. So I did want to talk to him about what his takeaways from that book, and it has been highly recommended to me. And then the book, I believe he read "Have Black Lives Ever Matter?" I believe that's the title of it. I believe so. And again, the same thing. I did not read it, but it has been highly recommended. And the book that I would read would be my fault. It's African Americans in Early Rockford. I always misplace the early. My takeaways from that book was when you don't teach the true history, when you don't teach unbiased or when you teach a whitewash history, it makes sense that some of these problems in Rockford exist today, because you're not even teaching the truth to the people. You're not even teaching the truth about Rockford's history. So it makes sense. That's my main takeaways from that book. It felt like a watered down version of Rockford's history, and it left me more frustrated than anything else. There were I did think it was definitely important to read. Definitely it was important to read, just in terms of having that takeaway. But I also think that it just left me more frustrated than anything else. And comparatively to the book that I would read next would be A People's History of the United States, and that does not have that problem at all. The problem A People's History has is it's really truthful and at times really difficult to read. But I also think that book is important to read because that it teaches a true unbiased history. And that history is on a national level, not a Rockford level, but still an important book to be read. And in the midst of this time period, we would get the justified ruling of Faustin Guaitico. And the justified ruling of Faustin Guaitico really felt my main takeaway from that press conference that they did. My fault. The main takeaway from the press conferences they did leading up to that was the fact that Jay Hanley said that he's not concerned about their policy. He's not concerned about whether or not they followed proper procedure. That's my main takeaway from this whole thing. It really felt, as a community member, as a citizen of Rockford, it felt like a blatant disrespect to all of us. It felt like they're showing you that it doesn't matter what they do, they will always be justified in doing so. That's basically what they got up there and told y'all and told us. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter if it's on body camera. It doesn't matter if it's on dash cameras. It doesn't matter if it's on security cameras. They will always be justified in what they do. That's my main takeaways from that, really. That's my main takeaways. Is even in my fault. A mistake that I think maybe not mistake, maybe mistake's not the proper word, but a thing that happened last year was calls for transparency, calls for transparency in the Rockford Police Department and the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies as well. And I think that a problem that has stemmed from that is City Hall and people who work in City Hall have been able to say that getting body cameras is being more transparent, and that's how we're listening to the community. That's how we're listening. But as we see with the murder of Faustin Waytigo, body cameras don't stop body bags. Body cameras don't do anything. Body cameras is $3.4 million just to make you think that is supposed to stop something. Okay, my fault. Then the week after, the same week, the same week of the justified ruling of Faustin Waytigo, the city market that week would be the week we called 3 lanes. And let me see, should I turn the camera? No, I'm not gonna turn the camera around. But it was three. The reason we call it 3 lanes is because it was 3 lanes of traffic. There was a cars that had turned onto First Street from East State Street, turned right onto First Street from East State Street, and a car was going to continue on East State Street, but then the car that was in this line had gotten over to the other side of traffic and created a new line, and there was also a line of cars that would there was also a line of cars that would be going right. That's what they were trying to say. A line of cars that would be trying to go right. And in terms of the May 30th Lions being a direct action group, that really felt like a win the most. That really felt like our goal was achieved. And the goal being to spread the message and to raise the general consciousness of Rockford, raise the people's ability to talk about Denzel Duvant, to talk about Faustin Waytigo, to talk about Jose Gonzalez Jr., to talk about Raymond Jackson. Because I think, and one of the most powerful things just throughout City Market would be the people that would just be I don't know if they realized that they was being contradictory or being maybe a bit hypocritical by doing these things, but as people would be walking into City Market or just walking past in general, they would, some of the people would be following along with the chants and following along with the things that we were saying, and they would also stop and would have a table set up similar to this, and they would grab pamphlets and ask questions and things of that nature. So it felt like it was on the opposite ends of being on the ledge, where being on the ledge was more educational and less confrontational. It felt like walking in the crosswalk was more confrontational. We definitely had more confrontation stem from walking the crosswalk, but it was also I don't want to say that it very much was educational in its own way. Just the different people who would drive by and honk their cars as they drive by, honk in support, and the different people who would stick their fists out their windows and scream things in support out the windows. It definitely was successful in the goal that we had originally set out. And another thing that would continue would be these warrants that would be issued. Hold on, my fault. A thing that would happen that would be outside of the occupation really was a live that Dinesh had organized. I believe the title of the live was "The Challenges of Black Unity," and again, there was a creative vision for this. There was a plan and scheme that I wanted to go about doing this live, but again, due to different circumstances and due to different obstacles, moving parts down here, we were unable to accomplish that. So, but that was on the agenda to talk about that live and takeaways from that live. What would happen next would be the Rockford police chief. What was it? What was that agency called? I'm trying to think of the agency. Carla Red would become the police chief. Carla Red would get announced as a new police chief. And again, I felt like that was very similar to the city council agreeing to get body cameras. All it is trying to trick people into think that they are making some type of progress by naming the police chief to be a black woman. That's really what it felt like. It felt like some people say she's not qualified for the job, but I think honestly, I think she is qualified for the job, because you have to think about what the job really is. You have to think about being the police chief. You the head of the violence workers. You the head of these people who engage in violent actions against citizens of Rockford on a daily basis. So for that reason, I think she's good for the job. For that reason, and due to her previous transgressions in the back of the city hall, due to her previous transgressions outside of her husband's church, I do believe that she is fit for the job. Because her job being head of the violence workers, I think she'll be great at that job. I think she will do exactly what's asked of her. These people, they're not trying to change the system because the system benefits them. The illusion of progress. So then after the 3 lanes week, the next city market would be... Oh, my fault. I didn't address this. But at the end of the 3 lanes week during city market, at the very end, when we was packing up and had already decided to leave, they came up and gave me a noise citation. They gave me a noise citation, and they didn't take the megaphones that week. Okay. At the very end, I think the only reason that they gave me that noise citation, I still believe fully to this day, is because we were so successful in our goal that week. We were so successful in being disruptive, but also being educational, that they felt they had to do something, that they was getting beat too bad, that they just needed to do something at the end that would make it look like they did something to stop what we were doing. That's really what that... it felt petty. It felt like a petty thing to do. Okay. But the next week, they would issue a noise citation. They would come up and give it to me, but they would also take the megaphone. And because we had gotten into a place where it became regular for them to hand out and give out, fuck the police, to give out these noise citations. But the manner in which they did it was they would give me the noise citation and they would say, if you play the siren again, we're going to arrest you. Or if you, one week I believe they had said, if you use a megaphone at all, we're going to arrest you. So this week, City Market Week 15, we named it 1 citation, 2 megaphones, because not only did they take the megaphone that I was currently using when they gave me the noise citation, but after they gave me the noise citation and they had picked up the megaphone, I had went over and I had grabbed another megaphone and began using it. And it's important to note, that the noise citation the original noise citation stemmed from using the siren. And on the second megaphone, I just spoke into it, but that didn't stop them from surrounding me, and taking the megaphone. And I believe this was my first physical interaction with Matthew Williams. Excuse me. And after he would take the megaphone, he would grab my wrist and he would, I forget, I'm trying to remember what he would say. I believe he would say something about, stop, you're resisting. So then I would say, well, I'm resisting what? Am I under arrest? And he didn't say nothing. So I just yanked my arm out. Okay. So then after they had taken both megaphones, we was out of megaphones on location. So the next thing that we would do was use the speaker and plug the microphone into the speaker, and I would just use that. Even though they had no reason or justification for taking either megaphones, but especially not the second one, we were still able to find a different way to amplify our voices, still find a different way to get that message across. And I feel like the only reason they start taking the megaphones is because of the week prior, because we were so successful in the week prior, to where, again, they just feel like they have to do something. Okay. The next thing on the agenda, I really wish that we could have followed out on this goal. But the next thing that we wanted to talk about was the different white vigilantes that we have encountered. The new white vigilante dresses like a cowboy and drives some type of silver pickup truck. And at different points in times, he has, I forget what the second flag is, but the first flag is a Confederate flag, and he has a blue stripe on this car, and then some type of light system, and what is it? I don't know. I forget what he called it. Dang. I forget what he called it, but a way to amplify his voice. And he would come by. At first, he would come by and he would say things like, God bless the Rockford Police Department. God bless the Rockford Police Department. And he would drive by, coming down this way, and on his way back, he would have a Confederate flag on the back of his truck. Apparently, he's from Florida. His name Rick. He dressed like a cowboy. Another white vigilante we would have is Clyde, or Ralph Clyde. But he lived in the back of he lived in Old City Hall, and he would cut down the memorials of Shannon. Yeah, cut down the memorial of Shannon Graves and the memorial of Faustin Wojtyla, because the landlord of the Old City Hall, I believe, said he didn't want it near his property at all, that they were going to tear it down every single time, that if you put it up, I'm trying to think of his quote. I don't know, you really have to just go back and watch that video. You really just have to go back and watch that video. But Clyde would eventually stop. There was a one last confrontation with that lady, and Clyde would stop. I don't believe he has torn down these memorials in the past, I think 2 months. That being said, I do think there is a certain point in time in the near future where he will cut them down again. We've gone through this different iterations of a time period where he don't cut it away, he don't cut it up, he don't do nothing to them for 1 week, 2 weeks, he cutting it down every day, multiple times a day. So even though he stopped I do believe that is a temporary stop. We would also have two more vigilantes, both of them unknown though, both of them relatively unknown. One of them would come by in his pickup truck at 6:30 in the morning when people are sleeping, and just lay on his horn for 15-20 seconds. Right? He's done this for months. I believe the first time he had done this was during a reading that I was doing in April, and he's continued to do this all the way until now. This is I have no idea what is wrong with him, but he do need help. I have no idea who he is, but he needs some type of help, because to do this regularly for months and months and months, is clearly the sign of a deranged person who need help. And this person would also, at different points in times, he would get out his pickup truck and he would spray paint the poles that have memorials on them. This is truly, truly, truly a sick individual. And the last white vigilante that we would have, regular, consistent white vigilante, would be a person who would cut, at different points in time, he would cut up, slash memorials. But the way he would slash them would be, he would only slash the memorials for black people. And he would slash, he got like it's a sick individual. He got like a signature way he slashed it. Truly, truly a sick individual. Right now, it seems like his main focus, his main goal is the memorial for Eddie Patterson. He has regularly and routinely just slashed that. Overnight, he does this overnight. Okay. Outside the white vigilantes, which is crazy to say, I never thought I would say that before in my life. Outside the white vigilantes, what would be going on is throughout this last year and a half, what we have done regularly is go to court support for different people who have been arrested at or related to a protest. And in this 100 days of, when was it? I believe it was it August 31st? I believe it was August 31st. We would finally get, after this year and a half, we would finally get the first trial of somebody who has been arrested during a protest. The first case and the only case so far to have gone to trial was the trial of Antar Baker. Antar was arrested on October 5th of 2020. He was arrested and charged with obstruction and criminal trespass, and he was found not guilty on both those cases. On both those charges, he was found not guilty. He chose to do a bench trial. He was here earlier today, and again there was a plan for this live, and sadly, Antar not here to talk about it and not here to give his takeaway from the trial and what it means to him. But what it means to me personally is I still find it very hypocritical. Maybe not hypocritical. I do feel that it showcases just the type of things that go inside the so-called justice system. The fact that it was 6 people in total that was arrested on October 5th. And I believe, I'm trying to think. One of the cases has gotten dropped. The same, 3 people got arrested in one manner and 3 people got arrested in a very different manner. But Antar, Leslie, and Asia had gotten arrested in the exact same manner, in the exact same circumstances, and had been charged for the exact same things. And the allegations were everything about them, the nature, the manner, everything was the exact same. And I do think that it showcases the type of things that go on inside the justice system, the so-called justice system, when we can look at this case where these 3 individuals have everything the exact same. Everything the exact same. And Asia got her charges dropped months ago. Asia got her charges dropped months ago. Thankfully, that's a good thing. Antar had to go to trial to be found not guilty of these charges, and Leslie still has those charges. So what type of justice system is that where three individuals, the exact same things, the exact same cases. One of the cases dropped. One went to trial and found out guilty, and you're still trying to press charges against one individual. This is the type of injustices in the punitive system that is the so-called justice system, where it's not. You would think in a logical world that if a situation like this was to happen, and the court dropped one case, another case was found not guilty, you would think that the other patient's cases would be dropped as well. But because it's not a system based off logic, this is a system based off white supremacy and racism, you have seen that these charges still stand, and they are still trying to send somebody to jail for these charges. This is a system purely based off punishment and control, not off any type of justice, not off any type of goodness or well-being for the community. This is a this is a system, based solely off punishment, rooted in punishment. So what it mean to me, for the cases to be found not guilty, for Antar to be found not guilty, it really felt like, it really just felt like this shouldn't have even gotten to this point. It really felt like, is anything going to happen to the police officers that arrested him? No. Is Antar going to be rewarded in some type of way? Or be compensated for the time he spent in jail or for the trauma from being arrested? Nothing is going to happen for Antar, but just the charges being dropped in general is a good thing, but it's also a thing that shouldn't have even happened in the first place. And also that day, August 31st, probably in the top 3 of the craziest day, top 2, and I don't think it's 2, the craziest days of the occupation. Earlier that morning of August 31st, in this 100 days, would be the swearing-in ceremony of Carla Red. It would take place at Veterans Hall. I believe that's what it's called. Veterans Hall on Main Street. Excuse me. On Main Street, pretty much on the corner of Main and Jefferson. Pretty much. I believe that's what it's called, Veterans Hall. And during this day, we would go out to Veterans Hall and we would write in chalk alongside the sidewalk outside of the Veterans Hall, chalk that told the community, told the people in that area of the injustices, of the heinous actions the Rockford Police Department and Carla Red herself have been involved in the past year, 2 years or so, 2-3 years. What would happen that day as well, this was such a crazy day, is we would be served orders of protection against Simon Lincoln. He's a maintenance worker for Old City Hall. My fault. He's a old maintenance worker for City Hall who would regularly wash away chalk. And the main takeaways I have from this whole saga with Simon was, one, how ridiculous it was, and one, how easy it is just to lie on some of these things, because this thing was full of blatant, obvious lies. One thing I took away was just being able to question him and ask him about some of the things that he has done. For some reason, he called Kyle Saunders the director of the city. I do not know why, but he would say that every time he washed away the chalk, it was on the orders of Kyle Saunders. It was on the orders of the director of the city. That's what he would say. He was under oath at the time, but still, I'm not sure. Might have to FOIA some records of that. He would say that every time he washed it away, he never did it just to do it. He never did it on his own volition. He did it because it was part of his job. That's what he said. And also at the same time, you have to really think about how far will you go for a job? How far will you go for a paycheck? How far? In the midst of doing this live, we'd be served no contact orders for Simon. And also in the midst of this live, bullets would come flying by Terry's face, Terry's head, and bullets would come and hit the table, hit this very table that I'm sitting at right now, come out and hit the leg of this, bounce up off the floor and hit the leg of this table. Now, initially, just to give some proper, I think I've talked about this one time, I don't know why, but just to give some proper context as to where I was at that day. I had a confrontation with the bailiff inside for Antar's trial, and I had left the trial, and I was upset. I don't know if upset the right word, but more so just frustrated after this confrontation. So while we was doing this live, I was frustrated still, and thing that I would do, which probably really it might have saved my my leg from being hit by this bullet, is I would get up and just grab water and get up, try to move around, just trying to clear my head, and so I can have a clear mind going into this live. And because of that, when I was standing up, I was standing up, and I was standing up, standing on this side of the table, standing on this side, a little bit past the camera's view. And I remember when the bullets first hit, it was my main thought was trying to figure out not where they were coming from, but trying to figure out where they were going. And because mainly for me, I didn't want to run in the wrong direction. I didn't want to. I know where they was being shot from. It seemed to me like they was being shot a little bit further, barely a little bit further down the road. But it also felt like they really could be aimed in any direction. So while they was being fired, those were my thoughts. Then once a bullet would hit, it felt my next thought was run. And because at that point, who know how many more bullets are gonna come? Who know how close they are? Who know anything at that point? And then I had ran, and Leslie was sitting down, and he had gotten up, and we had ran in the same direction. Then once we had seemingly got to a place in a location that wasn't being shot at, and it seemed like there wasn't no more shots being fired or no more wasn't no screams of pain or nothing like that. Seemingly was all safe at that point. We would go back and go back to the table, go back to in front of the courthouse, and immediately this is still nuts to think about, he would walk up and he would say, there it is, or something like that, and he would find the bullet just sitting there on the ground. And the immediate aftermath of that would just be trying to figure out where they shot at us from, trying to figure out the angle it could be, what if they were on foot, if they was in a car. We did not hear any car screeching off. We did not hear any car honking on their horn. We did not hear anything just like that in the leading up to the shooting. So because of that, it was my initial belief that this person would have to be on foot in some type of way to do this. Then after things calmed down, I remember my next thought was, dang, I gotta tell my father about this. I gotta tell my parents about this. And I would tell them, But then in the morning after, police officers would come out. Police officers ended up going to the scene that day after a community member called the police. And I did not have no interaction with them. I do not really know what they said. But police officers would come the next morning and they would talk to Leslie, and they would try to say they found bullets at, I believe it was Kilburn Estate. They said they found 4 bullets. And again, if you go back and you watch that video, you clearly hear the number of shots it actually is. But they came and they had said they had found 4 bullets in the grass on Kilburn, I believe, is what they had said. And the immediate aftermath, immediate things that would go on after this was just trying to figure out who shot us. Trying to figure out, really, that's all it really was in the next few days, just trying to figure out who shot us, who could have shot us, why they shot us, and how they shot us. Oh, dang. This paper got wet. That's really was the next few days. And different stories would come out. And initially they would put out the story that the shooting took place at West State and Avon, which Terry would say, if we right here in front of City Hall right now, I believe Terry say that would be equivalent to somebody shooting from the bridge right here. If somebody if somebody was firing shots at the bridge, on the bridge, that would be the same distance between where we're at in front of the courthouse and then to where they're saying the bullets took place. From the bridge to us, that's the distance. That'd be the distance. And they would characterize it as a road rage incident. And I believe the people, they would arrest people and they would charge people with this. And that court case is just still ongoing. Seeing how that turned out. The chalk wars would also continue. City workers would come out at different points in time and wash away chalk and tear down memorials and things of that nature. And then the next major thing that would happen was the justified ruling of Jose Gonzalez Jr., the shooting of Jose Gonzalez Jr. And this really just felt it felt similar to the death and the murder and the justified ruling coming out for Faustino Guaitico, but it also felt like a slap in the face. That's kind of what it felt like. One, for it being Hispanic Heritage Month, it felt like the shooting of a 19-year-old Mexican, just for that justified ruling to come out in the midst of that month. It also felt like in the lead up to this justified ruling, in the immediate aftermath of this justified ruling, it felt very peculiar for all of a sudden Tom McNamara to, at the same time of this shooting taking place, at the same time of this justified rulings coming out, for him to be, for the first time and only time of the year, to be in pictures with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, to be in pictures with as many Mexicans as he can find. And another thing that would happen outside of us would be different police officers, different Rockford police officers would go through charges. Eric Thurman would agree to a plea agreement. I believe the actual charge he pled to was a disorderly conduct. I believe that's the charge he pled to. And Joshua Grover would be charged with child pornography. And I really do wish everybody was here to talk about their point of view and their outcome for the orders of protection sagas that would stem from the people that work at Rockford Orthopedic and from City Hall workers. sadly, I still got a date I got to go to for the people who filed orders to protect the people who work at Rockford Orthopedic. And for the first time, last night, or no, not last night, 2 nights ago, I was reading the paper and reading the allegations, and I was trying to think about the actual circumstances of that day. And you can see on the video, first of all, you can clearly see on the video who the aggressor is. You can clearly see on the video who is being trying to be physically aggressive. So I think that's clear in the video, but it's also clear that the things that they are alleging and the things that they are alleging that I said, I never said at all. I never said. The only thing I said, the only point that I contested was them saying that they had an order of protection out against me. And I felt the only reason I did this because we had went to court for this already, and I had won. The judge had said that there was no need for this order of protection to even be put out in the first place. So that's the only point that I had raised. And after the judge had said that, and after the judge said that he wouldn't extend any order of protection, I made sure to go through what I can and can't do. I made sure that he said that I can walk on the sidewalk. I can do anything and everything except go into their business. And they did initiate this confrontation. They did initiate this engagement, this interaction. So I do really wish everybody was here to talk about their different sagas with the order of protections. But they are still also ongoing. My fault. Another side thing that has happened during this time period was our speakers get stolen on a regular basis. I swear we have spent probably over $1,000 on speakers alone. At different points in times, different people would come by and ask for things, but also, I think my fault. I'm trying to remember how this speaker got stolen. Oh, the chart. Oh, okay. For 815 day, I was not there for 815 day, so I don't feel like I can probably discuss that. But people had came down. Kyle and Marge Bevers had came down and wanted to clean the sidewalks for 815 day. So they came down with a power washer and had gotten to some confrontation, some interaction with Leslie, and that would Leslie would be arrested because a police officer said, Matthew Williams would say that he was interfering with the arrest, that he wasn't allowing them to be interviewed. I believe that's the allegation. Okay, my fault. The wind picking up here. The wind's picking up. My fault. So back on a chronological order of events. City Market for the next few weeks, we would get into more of a rhythm in walking in the crosswalk. We would get into more of a comfort zone with walking there, and more aware and of the things that we could do, of the things that would lead to police interaction, would lead to a potential arrest. So we did try to, personally, for me, when I go into anything, I do not want to have any confrontations to begin with. I want to have zero interactions with any antagonizers. That's my thought process, because for me, my goal is for it to be direct and educational. My goal is for the message to get across. And because my goal is for the message to get across, because our goal is for the message to get across, I think that that leads to not getting into confrontation, not Of course, there were several people during City Market who would uh, come by just to get into confrontations. There were people who would go out their way and drive repeatedly through the crosswalk just to get into confrontations with the people participating in the protest. But me personally, I just try to focus on what the message is. And the thing that would happen during City Market, the main takeaway, looking back at City Market now, it really felt like, at first it felt like we just got to be present in some type of way. We just got to maintain a presence and be educational and to inform people about what's going on in Rockford. But then at both points, it really is a tale of two halves. No, not a tale of two halves. It's really two different things, two seasons of City Market. So the first part, it felt isolated. That's a win. Isolated, we got to be educational. We got to involve community members. We got to inform community members. We got to hand out these pamphlets. We got to talk to different individuals and hear their experiences. And different individuals came up and they asked for the megaphone. They wanted to say something. They want to talk about their own experience. So isolated, that felt like we succeeded in the goal. We succeeded in what we had planned to do, what we had set out to do. Then comparatively to the second half, I think this microphone needs no battery, so I'm going to wrap it up after this. Comparatively, the second half of City Market, where it is more direct, it is more confrontational, it is more just making sure that everybody driving by, everybody walking into City Market has to confront what the City Market organizers have done and have continued to do, is forcing people to recognize and realize the transgressions of the Rockford Police Department and the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies. It's forcing people to confront these issues and to not be able to just walk around and to ignore these issues and to pretend these things don't exist. So isolated the second part, the second half of City Market, that felt like a win in itself. That felt like we got to be direct. We got to make people confront these issues, confront these things. And we also got to hand out pamphlets. We also got to talk to people. We also got to hear about people's experiences. We also got to hear from family members of people who have been killed. So in terms of community engagement, in terms of being educational and it still being a direct action, overall, I could say that felt like a win. So I'm gonna end this live for now. Get some new batteries. Need to go buy some new batteries. I do want to say again, like I said in the beginning, subscribe to our podcast, May 30th Alliance podcast. I think in the next few months or so, the upcoming months or so, I would be expecting more podcasts and less live videos like this. And also subscribe to our newsletter, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. We got a really good thing going on with these stories, really trying to get into my bag with these stories. May 30th Alliance, this is day 414. We wanted to do this last week, but just due to different plans and things like that, moving obstacles, we were unable to do it. But day 414, the struggle continues.